So, I will discuss on governance, e-governance today. So, this is a very important concept you also need to know, and most of you have already understood this concept, e-governance. You have a fair idea about this concept and electronic governance, right? And kind of provisions which are part of this electronic governance, and also some of the characteristics of good governance which are also equated with the electronic governance. This is very, very important. First, we understand what is good governance and how governance is different from the government. When we talk about the government, government is basically a body which will work for the good of the community, and government is also one of the sole component in the definition of the state. When we actually defining the state, governments happen to be the one of the very core component, because without government we can't even think of any political organization which can facilitate bringing the common good to the community, right? So when we talk about the common good of the community, we need to talk about facilitating mechanisms, and that is the government, okay, who will actually work for the betterment of the people and the territory. So when there is a state is also an apparatus consisting of the people, consisting of the territory, consisting of the sovereignty. Sovereign means which is also free from all kind of you see control, external control, internal and external control. Sovereignty happen to be a very sole component, and the last one is the government itself, and that is the political organization. So a political organization will make a state, an apparatus, an entity. So without having a political organization, you can't even get to think that, okay, so you have some right and you have some freedom. So organization is one. So when we talk about the governance, governance is all about administrations, right? We talk about administering the goods. So the government is all about you see the implementing and facilitating the good. And when you talk about the governance, it is all about administering the good for the benefit of the community, for the citizens, right? So here, when you talk about this good governance is also a term which is first defined by UNDP, and with some characteristics. It is a term defined by UNDP with some characteristics, and UNDP has also enumerated 8 characteristics of governance, and those 8 characteristics are very, very important to understand the good governance. So, how governance should be, so how management should be, how administration should be. So governance should be, according to those 8 characteristics, governance should be participatory, governance should be transparent, which is the second one. Governance should be consensus oriented, which is the third one. Governance should be efficient, fourth one. Governance should be based on rule of law, that is also rule of law. I'll also write down those points. And you also say accountability and effectiveness. Okay, so these are some of the parameters. One is the participation. Participation happens to be the very first parameter, participation. Second is transparency. Third one is effectiveness. Fourth one is efficiency. Fifth one is rule of law. Sixth one is consensus oriented. Seventh one is accountability. And eighth one is efficiency. Okay. So I'll also write down those points so that you can understand. So you see those eight characteristics. Huh? Equity, yeah, equity, and accountability. Okay, yeah. Let me tell you that right from the very first, yeah. Understood? Okay, done. Okay. You see that we have those parameters, those characteristics of good governance. It's very important also to understand when we think about integrating ICT in delivering the services, government services, delivering the societal services as well as the private services, right? So, delivering the private services as well as societal services is also accompanied by those characteristics. Fulfillment of those characteristics could actually make the governance, you see, a good. So these are these parameters of good. We are also talking about smart government nowadays. When you talk about the smart, that is means simple, moral, accountable, responsive, and transparent. Involve all those characteristics. Those when you say the smart government is equivalent to having that simplification of the procedures. Then you talk about this moral in. Morally in its practice, and as well as you see talk about this accountability to those accountable to those, and reflect this accountability to those who will be affected by its decision is very important. And then we see that responsive, which is very important here. If I have mentioned one thing, it was responsiveness is very important part. Responsiveness is also very important. I have missed that. Efficient, effectiveness, authority, and also social and beauty at the same time. And the efficiency and effectiveness. And then one more thing is responsiveness, not the eight. So you can club it together. Actually, there are eight characteristics. One is responsiveness. So responsiveness is also very important criteria. Okay. So you can also club the efficient and the effectiveness together, and then you have that responsiveness, which is another criteria of the good governance. Okay. So when you talk about the participation now, it's very important to understand the participatory aspect of any governance, how to make people participate. People participate in also getting the benefit, in faxing out the benefit. So this is also part of development now. So we are not relying on this, you see, this top down and also GNP centric, both centric model of development. We are also talking about much more decentralized way of development. And when you talk about the decentralized process of development, so development could also involve the people in it, and just go along with the people, mobilize the people planning for their own sake, or own benefit, or own own good. So that's what is actually a participatory centric development and goal centric development. Now, when you talk about the ICT, how we can bring ICT into that uh, typical top-down and growth-centric development. And when we bring it, it will actually make the whole government highly decentralized in a way that it will also encourage participation of the people. That's what we have envisaged. There are also lots of lacunas, loopholes. So that will be discussed later. But yeah, integrating ICT with the government will make a government smart, responsive, as well as accountable and transparent. Participation, which also very important term. So in beyond this ICT, if you look into participation, I have already taken a class on participation itself. So there are different layers of participation, right from this anti-participation. You have the zero participation, participation in information sharing, participation in also giving consent, participation in even giving the consultative services. And also you talk about this participation through sharing the material, participation even through being functional. Okay, and also autonomous, taking autonomous decision, also part of participation. So there are different layers of participation which can be ensured in this framework called participation. So government will not make people at the same time and a passive one. So we are also here talking about this active participation of the people, and how to make people actively participate, and that is possible through digital literacy, right? So you can make people actively participate in any kind of development action, and that is through, you say, through and that to ICT centric development, which is possible only through making people digitally literate. Now, when you talk about this anti participation, that is something which is always imposed on them. Now, you cannot even say that you are having a website which will inform about the government services will be an imposition or anti-participation, because when you talk about e-governance, electronic governments, it will also implicate right from the website informing about this government services to the kind of government services, various utility forms, various payment for various services, bill, that birth registration, date registration, and part of the services in the state mode, state-centric mission mode and central mission mode, like you talk about e-procurement, also integrated project, okay, the taxation, you say e-court even, and e-business, okay, and also your registration, that is you also see that land record, okay, and property registration, so everything come into it, then and also it is integrated and also in line with that e-concept, that is called that electronic or ICT, when ICT is used for socio-economic development. So this is the basic motto is use of ICT, use of electronic that apparatus for the socio-economic development, okay, so and to bring participation of the people. So how you realize participation is another part of the issue and another issue altogether. So, but you know that it will make the participation easier. So you can also take example of some of the government scheme and the project, like you talk about not the scheme, this is a project, Karnataka Land Record Management Scheme. All of you know about this land record management, and earlier you also see that land records where there are 10,000, like even like so 1 lakh village accountants, they are also precipitated across the villages, across the districts, and the state. They were basically the accounts who will manually do, who would manually do, who happen to manually that compile all the records, right? And they actually, you also see that they were very bribery prone. You like there is not clear information available. It is also paper based work. So you see that the e-concept has actually made this paperwork to transform to this e-concept, like paperwork and informal paperwork to a formal, as well as you see much more like formal electronic format, which is make things easier, much more easier, right? At the same time, you could also see those records which were also at time torn, yellowed, uh, uh, could not give you a clear outlook. At the same time, you see that is that becomes dilapidated, so can't make any sense. Now you see, after this electronic management of land record has actually proved to be very useful, because the information related to land is also important for any farmer and people who are living in this rural areas, especially more important for them than people who are attaining an urban livelihood, just because those people they're basically, they are also belong to that downtrodden marginalized communities, and there is frequent selling of this land mortgage, so they also need to apply for loan and all, okay. And also there is a record of the cropping pattern, the types of crop which are also being cultivated into a piece of land, which is also become very important. At the same time, that the quality of the land over the years, so everything is being documented and found in the land records. So the thing is that village account manually collect the information and put into it, but at times what happens, those information are yellowed and faded, and each time a farmer or the villagers comes to that accountant for information, so he cannot even provide this information on time, and many a time he also not even respond. He don't respond to that the villagers, and on the villagers are also many a time have to bribe him make a frequent visit to those like offices. So that happens to be usual scenario. There is not much change also. I cannot even claim that ICT has brought a huge change into the whole scenario. But yeah, certain change, certain shift is being noticed into this scenario is that from paperwork to this electronic format that we have converted this like this paper based informal that work of those village accountant to even to you see that electronic format of documentations and record of this land. So that is a huge shift. And second shift is that this is actually de-skilling. You cannot even say this is good also. But there are thousand like that thousand that accountants were recruited across the villages who will also manually collect the report. Now in each district there is only one person and a computer whose job is just to keep track of the record and take the printout and distribute it. So that is the job, taking the printout and put the record, taking the printout, distribute it. His job is very limited, and earlier 10,000 work in a district is replaced by one single person and a computer. So that has also led to de-skilling. Okay, so this is also lead to a kind of loss of job of the people. So that is another side of the whole issue. Okay, but you see the change, positive change is that like we don't have to look for those record which is already there, which are already turned, and to like many times visit to the office and office apparatus, which is also highly savvy at the same time. You have to stand in a queue. So that is also quite tedious and a tiresome affair. So that might be a kind of relief. Those situation can be, you said, situation have been obliterated nowadays. So that is also you see part of like positive or merits of those you see that in electronic that land record management or e-government. So we talked about this e-governance. Okay, that is another Bhumi project. Gandut project, I have already mentioned about Gandut project perhaps with you about this Gandut in third district. We have that Gandut project. Third district was also like abysmally poor district in such a way that only I think like 1.7 million population across hundreds of districts, and 57% of illiterate during the time. 57% people were illiterate during the time when project was being implemented. Okay, and that was a project which was also coordinated by the local entrepreneurs who are trained in running a computers, operating a computers, and they develop a very simple interface through which they are providing all the government services available to the villagers. And there is also a mechanism of feedback out there, so government can also immediately give a feedback to the services which are being provided to them. So and grievance redressal mechanism is also there through which villagers can also put up their grievances related to any of the services. So there is a list of 21 services which are available in that villages and which are not even that up to the mark. The quality of those services when not up to the mark can be reported. So there is a provision like that way, quality of services related to school, that is also absent of teachers, and also like these are the very serious issue in rural areas, not in like in urban university setup, but in rural areas these are serious issues. When there is a like huge rate of illiteracy, you can actually see there is no doctor, absenteeism of the doctor in the PHC, that is a public health center. There is no health facilities is available. Doctors are also not even willing to go to the village and to work on that like in a particular village just because of lack of infrastructures and because of that kind of like savvy attitude of the village, because that is the response because of lack of transport facilities and other various other regions. So that is also one regions which could be reported, that is that can be a part of that, not can be, that has been a part of this given redressal like the form input. So absence of teachers, that is also condition of the schools are very dilapidated, like very poor. So teachers didn't like don't even like take any interest even to improve that. Even you see, just because there is lack of interest from the teachers, parents are also not inclined to send their students, send their that words and their children to schools. So there is a huge apathy in those villages. You get to see in that point of time when that project was being launched, that parents are not inclined to even send their that ward and this, children to schools. Teachers were frequently absent from that school just because there is no infrastructures also, and they did not even take part in improving those infrastructure, take part in any kind of decision making. So that is also another, like, very like problem or lacuna of during that period of time. And then also anything that got, you said, like a hand pump, that the hand pump were there in 1 to 2 kilometer distance. So if a hand pump got disrepair, right, that is also that got damaged, so people will have to carry the water for another 5 kilometer, 8 kilometers. So that is also a kind of headache for them. So how to deal with them? So deal with them, so through even through that simple that project apparatus, through website through which they can simply report it. If they're illiterate to report, then there are also people who are managing, operating it, who will be working on their behalf. So that has happened. So long back you could also see. So this is we actually we have moved ahead now. So but still situation haven't much changed. So we are talking about e-government. It is a part of management information system to improve the management information system. So governance is all about like, that administration and managerial. So we have moved ahead from those concepts of the earlier administration. We have focused more on managerial line, and instead of that pyramid and hierarchy, we are thinking about the cluster based approach, where everybody is equal at the same time in terms of decision making. So there is a cluster based approach, and instead of also like community centric, we talk about community centric and collective service, but there is also contracting out and contracting in, when the individual product based service are also given equal importance at the same time. Contracting out some of the service to a business, so that is government to business, where a business will procure some of the services and the goods and will distribute to the community. So a part of e-governance, we also have government to the same line of that you see that typologies. So we talk about government to citizen. So some services are directly meant for citizen, government to citizen. Government services, all the utility forms, bills, applications are government to citizen services. Then we also have some services which are government to business services, when government is also aligned with the business groups and business corporations in procurement of the services and make these services available to the citizens. Government to business, one is government to citizen, government to business, government to government, when there is also a SWAN, that is also state wide area network, that is also part of national e-government policy, state wide area network. So connecting all the district and sub-district with 2 Mbps, that was initially 2 Mbps, the GPRS connections were there. So to also facilitate this government to government interaction, interdepartmental coordination of various kind of services, which is very very important. So that was government to government, that aspect of the e-governance. Government to business aspect, government to citizen aspect. That is, these are the three actually. And business to business aspect is also there, when there is also see that on a business they will procure the services and selling it to, like, that consumers. So here when you talk about the citizens, citizens are not viewed as a citizen, citizens have become customer at the same time. So when we talk about the participation here, so participation can be possible when also citizen viewed as customer as well as citizen. Let me tell you. So if you simply, this is also another lacuna, okay? If you simply reduce the citizen to the customer at the same time, you are benefiting him, citizen cannot participate. Okay, so citizen has a role even to participate. We can talk about civic participation, and civic participation is important, and it comes from the civil society. Civil society, like there are NGOs, the media. Media is a part of civil society, right? Because media is also an autonomous unit, equally responsible for mirroring the society and delivering what society is thinking, right? So it is also a civil society, and that is a responsibility of media also to make the public informed. So civic participation, which is ensured by the government, is basically, let me tell you, it is basically to make the services transparent first. Second is to enable the citizen to make informed decision by also facilitating the first smooth delivering of information. Okay, so that role can be performed by NGOs, that role can be performed by medias, right, at the same time. So that concept is already there. But if you simply viewing of citizen to a customer, that is perhaps the lacuna of the whole concept of this good governance, because it is also viewing, you see, the customers as, you see, that's also citizens as the customers. So in a way you won't let them participate actively, no? But you will also define, have some predetermined set of rules by which they can perform. Okay, and hence understanding participation is very important. I'll also share one PDF, sorry, that lecture which I have already taken, so that you can understand different layers of participations and you can have some understanding about this participatory component. But in a way, in in their eyes, it also looks like it looks like that e-component, electronic government or ICT-centric government will facilitate the participation in a way, because there is a feedback mechanism, there is also grievance redressal mechanism. So people can come, put up their grievances, people can come, put up their feedback on any issues. So any services which are made available, and within the 5 days, 10 days duration, it will be sorted. But the question is how far it is sorted, in what way it is sorted, whether it is sorted or not. So it is mentioned that it is sorted, it will be sorted within 5 days, within 10 days. But that whether that electronic government has sorted that issue within 5 days, 10 days, no, actually not. So that is a scenario, real scenario. So when you talk about the participation, you have to understand the participation and what kind of participation you are talking, and you relate it to e-government and are claiming that e-governance can also bring participation of the people. I'm showing you the both side of the pictures. In a way, you can participate, you can share information through even this portal, you can share information. Some question might be asked. You can also become a part of, you can become a respondent who will be responding to the questionnaires. In that way also you can participate, because you are also giving information. So participation can be through information sharing. So you might also be asked some of the you might be asked about your opinion on any services, any goods. In that way also you are participating. Definitely you are participating because you are giving your opinion on any issues, developmental issues, about the services, about the good. You are participating, right? So you can participate even in community development. Is very, very important that you actually, as a NGO representative, what you do. I usually say, and I also discussed about those your fellow mates, senior fellow mates. So that they tend to mobilize the community first, tend to mobilize the community and ask for material resources from the community by way of participation. Material resources in cash, in kind, any kind of function you are also carrying out. So we'll ask for material resources. In that way, we are also participating. Contribution means participating. Like I have a stake in it, and I'm owning it. Right. So that is also participation. So you talk about this, like the contributing labor input. You are contributing labor. So you go to village, you ask them to contribute labor, even bring anything for construction of the school. If you can give a land, if you can give that is a capital. Land is a capital, that contributing a capital. Land, you are also engaged in constructing the house. So that is also kind of participating, active participating. But when you say participation through online mechanism, and that too in governance, this is a bit limited, because you see, it cannot entirely lead to active participation. Let me tell you, this is what I believe. And not necessarily that I need to tell you the all the goods and merits of this information and communication technology. Definitely, this technology is there, it is integrated, but it is not used in utilitarian sense. It is not used in a meaningful way, and that's why whatever projects are being taken so far by the government based on this ICT centric development has not culminated any like that any proper benefit, let's say. But yeah, we also see that we are part of this ICT revolution, internet revolution at the same time. Okay, so you also understand that participation is important from that like lecture you go through. So that lectures I will be uploading it. Then we have the transparency, very very important. Transparent is another characteristics of good governance. So when you talk about the transparent government, this is basically about making uh, each layer of decision of the government accessible to the people. So how the decision is being taken, who are there in that committee, okay, so what are the activities carried out. So the making everything clear to the people is called transparent. So transparent, even how budget is being spent, which is like fund, the fund which is being generated and how it is utilized, also making it transparent. So transparent is also very important characteristics of good governance. And at times you say with the advent of ICT, so you can have a like detailed report, we can make it available. Earlier, how to make it available, you could have said being a part of administration, you could say how could make it available because there is no apparatus to make it available. But you have a website now, you make it available. How you have spent the budget, how you have like how you have utilized the approved funds, approved grants, how you have utilized, make it available. Okay, so to bring the transparency of the services which are being carried out, understanding. So okay, so then we talk about what we talk about the equity. Equity concept is important. You know, equity concept is important from the even the right perspective when we say equity and fairness. Fairness in terms of getting all the opportunities and distribution of the opportunities. So and that too in a state, in a country when there is a huge disparities in terms of caste, creed, religion, and ethnicities. There is a huge disparity. So, fair distribution of the services and the equitable distribution of services as well as opportunities is very very important. So as a man and woman there should not be any discriminations, like that is a one like parameter of equity. Man and women are not, although they are different, but you make different provisions for them, but at the same time provisions should be equitable and fair. There might be different provisions because they are not equal, anyhow they are not equal. Hmm. So in terms of physical strength also they are not equal, and you see that we are also not equal. We have different aptitude, different mental capabilities, right? So we are not equal. So as we are not equal, so how to make equitable distribution is a bit difficult because you need to make diverse and different provisions for both for all the groups, diverse group, diverse element, and make it fair for all. So it is very important at the same time. So so governance also based on equity is a good governance, and that is possible. It is nowadays, it is said that through ICT it is possible just because informations are available. In that way you can questions, even there is a provision of like right to the RTI, that is RTI which can also be filed, through which you can question this equity aspect. Okay, there is also PIL, public interest litigations, through which you can make government accountable, and you can also questions the equity aspect of the government. So that at the same time equity is connected to accountability, which is very very important. Accountability part is very important, and when you say accountability, it's all about um, making the people accountable for their own decisions. So making the government accountable for their own decision. When government delivering the services, be it like financial services or there is no grants and all, and also other social services, various social services are also provided. Whether they're accountable to those to whom they are providing the services, whose life is going to be affected, is very very important accountability part, and that is also very easily understood from, you see, let me tell you that it could be easily understood from those so those parameters which are available, like there is also a citizenship card through which make the services accountable. Citizenship card is also there, through which they can also give a feedback to the available services from the government. And also there is a public hearing through which many NGOs can also what they could do. They could carry out a hearing across the cities and the districts, uh, and also keep stock of the activities at the same time. And also you see this public interest litigation, as I have told you, that is also a mechanism through which making the government, you can make the government accountable. Okay, so that is another thing, that is a part of good governance. And just because it is online, so you can also see, you can see the effects of it. Huh. Effects of it, how to file an online, that is a practical part, is how to file an online PIL. So e-petition, it is easier even, right? How to file an e-petition is easier. But here also you need to exercise your conscience. Let me tell you why filing this here, like that petition, you need to exercise your conscience. Very very important. So without exercising your conscience, your human resources, your judgment, you, if you go for filing that petition, so definitely will bring invite some ills to you. Okay, so this is important at the same time. So when you say responsive, responsive means responding to the public or the citizen at a reasonable period of time. So just because you see it is already mentioned perhaps in the website that within 7 days it will be responded, but you see 7 days has been passed, there is no response. If you are taking you are taking extended deadline, okay, I'll take 10 days, 15 days, and then it will be responded, then do it. So it is on your part as well as government part also. So it is mentioned that within 10 days it will be reported and you will be responded, but there is no response within 10 days. So that means this is not responsive at all. The website also may not be responsive. Okay, that accessibility parameters may not also be there with this website. There are non-responsive websites are also there. Some websites, earlier websites based on this Web 2.0, even not even 2.1 or 1.0, they were not responsive website. You won't get any provision of any feedback, okay, any chat or also comment on. Now there is a provision of feedback, chat, comment on there, but people, that many sites, many organizations who are maintaining the website won't take those participatory element and integrate those participatory element of this technology ICT into account and integrate it in the site. Okay, so that won't make it responsive. Okay, then okay. So when you say consensus oriented, again you see that there is a diversity of the populations. It is also equivalent to equity at the same time. So reconciling the interest of the diverse population is very very important. How will you reconcile the interest of the diverse population? Huh. So that's how you can arrive at a consensus. There are diverse priorities. Diverse priorities. If you go to village and you ask about the women's right to a age old people or a village head. In one district, people are there from even that Bihar, Uttar Pradesh. So there are certain situations there's a huge, highly patriarchal society is there. They will definitely say that women should confined into the four walls. They cannot come out and they cannot sit together with us in the meeting. So in Assam, Sandraprabha Paikya was the one who actually removed the barrier of that barricade between this man and a woman in terms of sitting in one platform and this meeting. So you see that these are different opinions. So you see consensus oriented is very very important. So it's a part of good governance. But at the same time, you cannot also you cannot offend that group because they are highly conservative orthodox and they don't leave their biasness. So how to create a consensus between the group, how to make them educate is very very important. This is also part of community informatics, use of ICT as a part of in a community, and how make them understand value of ICT. And let me tell you there is a very interesting exercise which will also make that ICT centric government good governance, and there are example. And first, that exercise was initiated in 1980s. There is a Brazil Foundation in Brazil, and that locality, not at Brazil, sorry, at Los Angeles. Los Angeles, there is a Brazil Foundations, and during 1980s, what happened, that area where that foundation actually worked was highly crime prone area. So illiteracy rate was higher even. So every day there is a police scandal and the criminal, activities in that particular area. So, and this foundation, what this foundation do, they thought of creating a wired network across that community and engage the young of that community in even in getting trained in softwares and making newspaper, newsletters, brochures, as well as working on this softwares, Photoshop and all, and making them engage in a and in such a way that within a month period, even like a year, like a 6 months period, there is also a huge change in the whole crime rate, whole situation, whole scenarios. So that is a first kind of experiment in terms of using of ICT in social capital. Let me tell you. So I'm integrating all these components. It's very easy to understand. So at the same time, when you talk about this consensus oriented, it is possible when there is a social capital. And ICT can also create social capital. Now let me tell you what is social capital. Social capital is very important. Suppose you were getting some information from your friend about the job. That means social capital is there. So you are getting all the support from your family to study, to go for higher education. That is a social capital. Okay, you are getting the support from your parents, your family members, your relative to go for higher education. You have that social capital in that family. Your friend has supported you to, like, you move to even the airport, and he has taken you to airport, he has taken you to railway station, to even catch the flight, to catch the train. Okay, that is also a part of social capital. So when you say social capital, we do have human resources. What happened, what is happening? क्या है, पढ़ना नहीं, सुनना भी नहीं है, नहीं जाओ, should I leave? हाँ, क्या हो रहा है? What is social capital? What is social capital? Ricky, what is social capital? What is social capital? What is social capital? Nikita?
It is the support that we get from our family in order to move in a social system.
Okay. So we are talking about the capital, and capital with social capital, which can be ensured by ICT, which can be ensured, can be facilitated by information and communication technology. So it is important to understand even the consensus oriented role of ICT. Okay, so when you talk about the social capital, this is the support, this is the well-being we actually get, which is generated in the community through friends, relatives, through our strong ties. So when you talk about the strong ties, our family member are a part of the strong ties. We have that emotional support from that family members. So who will give you that emotional support? Our family members, our relatives, our friends, right? So while giving that emotional support, they will sow the social capital. So simply sowing, simply you see the human resources there, you have an attitude, you have knowledge, you have skill, is not sufficient. Okay, so when you talk about the human capital is all about yourself, your attitude, your behavior, your knowledge base, your skills is not sufficient. Okay, so having ICT skill is also not sufficient if that ICT cannot even create a social capital. Is very very important. And in basic foundations, how I have linked the social capital is in basic foundations, that foundation tried to create social capital through the wired network. So networking the computers, even engaging this community, who are actually like community of criminals into like into this into the training of by giving them training of those brochure making, poster making, okay, and engage them into a creative work, and also see some change in the whole, you see this social metric the outcome, okay. So that is what is social capital, which is very very important, which help you to create a solidarity. So it is also different from human capital. At the same time, as you can see, even if there is a physical resource in the digital divide class, I have told you, even if there is a physical resource, suppose you have a computer available and you have skill also, but social capital may not generate if you don't use it meaningfully. And how you use it is also very very important. Meaningful use and also hedonic use and non-use are different. Meaningful use, hedonic use and non-use. Hedonic use, you are consuming the services, okay, and that is for entirely for your pleasure seeking activities, will also not contribute to social capital because it will alienate you from social capital. So you are also using it for pleasure seeking purpose. To a certain extent, it might also build up a capital, but in most of the cases, hedonic pleasure will not actually generate a social capital because it is highly consumption oriented, related to self and self, very deceptive oriented. Okay, so you're entertaining, you're getting the entertainment from watching a film, not even together in mobile phone. You kept on watching, you kept on watching the film, and you become like a pleasure seeking person, like of that entertainment medium. So will not generate any good, let me tell you. And but at the same time, you see there is also, you have that utilitarian sense of the use of this computer, of even mobile phone, of ICT. Any ICT will definitely create a social capital when it is used for even informing, used for giving emotional support. At the same times, also there is a community watching of any kind of like so that will generate social capital. But nowadays there is no community watching. There is a mobile phone, I will watch it in the mobile phone. Sandayan, like that event, I'll watch it in a mobile phone. What's the point even, like watch together, come and watch that event together. So that will not generate the social capital because mobile phone is there, I will watch it in the mobile phone. So you see the kind of motivation which is also part of very very important, like that aspect, which is also an important aspect to understand the e-governance at the same time. So consensus oriented is all about uh, creating a consensus and reconciliation of diverse interests, and that too with the help of ICT. How will you reconcile the diverse interests at the same time? Reconcile the interest of different communities. ডেকা বুঢ়া এখন গাঁৱত বহুত মানুহ থাকে, চবৰে ইণ্টাৰেষ্টবোৰ কেনেকৈ ৰিকনচাইল কৰিবা? It's very very important. How will you reconcile? Their opinions are different. If you are very conservative, you are very orthodox. So how will you reconcile their judgment, their opinions, their perspective is very, very important. Okay, understood. So that is a consensus-oriented part of good governance. At the same time, ICT has a role to create a social capital and create a consensus in a way that Gyandu, through which people started complaining at least. Earlier, they did not even know how to complain. They started complaining. Okay, there are also some mechanisms. So you have anger issue, vent out your anger. So that is very very important also. Vent out your anger issue. So if it is like suppressed, so definitely it will harm you. So don't suppress it, you vent it out. Huh. So it is important at the same time. So let me tell you. So everything is important and the connected. ICT, when it is used for, you can see, creating social capital, creating ties among the people, and it is also proved that ICT centric, like that network cannot create a strong ties. It can create a weak ties. Now you tell me that. What is the difference? You can ask me what is the difference between the weak ties and strong ties. Strong ties are those who are very nearby to us, like our parents, friends, relatives, who will give us immediate emotional support if, we are like at we are at stake, or in, like we are uh, that's we are very nervous or whatever at our emotional like breakdown, so we will get all the support from your friends, relatives. of the strong ties. Weak ties are those who are not acquainted but acquainted to you through the network. But it is also important how these weak ties can create a social capital, which is actually shown by the granulators. That weak ties nowadays have also become an agent of social capital, help you even finding a job, help you even getting any contact out there. So whatever information you have received, even from for your self well-being, or your well-being is also from weak ties if you are a part of this network, if you are a part of SNS. Okay, so in that way you see that so ICT can also create a consensus oriented situation. So in different way, creating weak ties, a link and social capital through weak ties, connection through weak ties. Okay, and this is important. At the same time, so government also making government also consensus oriented, that government will also be responsive to the people and consensus oriented try to come up.
When we talk about this, we will talk
Efficient and effectiveness, very very important. Efficient use of the resources, optimal use of resources. Huh. But let me tell you, efficient doesn't mean that is an ignorance or doing what is needed or even learning what is needed, measuring what is needed to be measured. At the same time, efficiency is all about that quickness and the fastness of delivery of the services, which is very very important. It is also equivalent to effectiveness, speedier delivery of the services, quick efficient delivery of the services, which is very very important nowadays. Fast delivery, quick delivery, and efficiency can also ensure the transparency, ensure this you see this consensus oriented, and fulfill the other parameters. Okay, which is very very important. That is the speedier delivery of the services, and it is okay. I have missed out another point: rule of law. Rule, I have already, okay, it is already, I have written down. Rule of law is again very very important. It's all about taking into consideration of the diverse interest and also taking care of minority interest at the same time. Rule of law, which is equal for all. So our India is also, our constitution is based on rule of law. In India, our constitution is based on rule of law. This is basically, you see, it is also taking care of the minority communities and also giving due share to all the communities as per their needs and the priorities. So when we discuss about those parameters, let me tell you, this all these parameters are linked together, and the e-government can also fulfill the parameters. Now there are certain mission mode under which this e-government is being performing. There is the state mission mode and central mission mode and integrated mission mode under which the services are being delivered. Okay, so you have a list of services under the central mission mode. I'll be sharing one PPT, so you can go through the PPT. So you'll have some services which are under the central mission mode, like that consai, that is income tax, insurance, passport, IDs, etc., are under the central mission mode in terms of registration, property registration. Oh no, no, that is under the state mission mode. In state mission mode, you have that banking, sorry, agriculture, property registration, and the district, and also urban bodies, rural bodies, etc., are under the, and also district are under the state mission mode. Banking is a part of central mission mode, and there are some integrated mission mode. That means that the e-justice, that is the electronic justice, electronic delivery of justice, e-court is there. That is also a kind of like concept and phenomenon which is introduced by the CUN. So that is very very UNDP. So it's very very important concept. So we get to see in Ahmedabad, say e-court is there in Ahmedabad, e-justice is already there, it is implemented. Okay. So that is a part of integrated mission mode. At the same time, we also have some of the component like common service center. Earlier, we have common service centers, kiosk, information kiosk, through which services are being provided. Okay, so some of the services will be provided through this common service centers, and accordingly, one lakh common service center will also be established across the villages. But now, this that scheme, that plan has become obsolete. So services are also not up to date. They're not updated, and there is also, you see, not about quality of the services. Most of the centers are non-functional nowadays. So that is also one. You see this outcome of this project at the same time. So that is one. So what I'll do, I'll summarize quickly. Okay. So what is actually required for e-governance and ICT? Because it's a huge concept. You have Aadhaar card, that is also part of e-government. Aadhaar. Okay. So where all the biometric information are being taken at the same time, that has created a safety issue. Safety security of the information which are given by the citizen. Hmm, to the government is very very important concern. So how to secure those information taken from the citizens is important concern. Privacy of the information which are being shared with the government body is very very important concern, and that is also a part of surveillance mechanism, because we do not have a strong data protection regime. And even is even if the data protection bill is being passed, and it has actually created a kind of blanket provisions for giving more power to government agencies and less power to even the citizens and the customers to say to get rid of government surveillance. So it has created a kind of blanket surveillance by the government. The government has a like, free hand on anything, any information you share. Okay, so that is a pros and as well as cons at the same times, because you are losing out your privacy at the same time, privacy of information, privacy of your personal behavior. So you are losing out everything. Okay, at the same time. So you see so that is one issue. Interoperability of the that system and the department is very very important, and for that creating infrastructure is very very important. And initially the problem was that you are talking about computerization, right? You're talking about common service center where there will be computer and the network and internet, which will also provide the first delivery of government services. But you see these common service centers are there, huh? But it is now obsolete at the same time, and infrastructures are not that like you also say not that strong in many rural areas, right? So hence you also see that the dream of digital governance or e-governance cannot be materialized. We are talking about e-democracy, which is also not possible. Now e-governance is different from e-democracy at the same time. Okay. So when you talk about the e-democracy, it's a very different concept altogether. In Minnesota, we have already experienced that e-democracy. In Minnesota, in USA, e-democracy is being materialized. But here we are far, far experimenting that e-democracy concept. Okay, so we might also simply try to replicate the example of e-democracy in terms of public sphere. Okay, we have a public sphere where all kind of discussions are culminated. So in a way that online public sphere is equivalent to e-democracy. No, so e-governance is different from e-democracy, but the problem is that huge investment is from the government side is required, providing that proper security and installing a proper security mechanism is very very important to make e-governance actually a reality. Hmm. To making e-governance a reality. Now also I cannot say that it is a reality when there is a huge digital divide at the same time. Making people motivate to use the services at the same time is very very important. Interdepartmental coordination and interoperability of the services among various government departments is very very important. Hmm. Uh, to fast delivery of the services. And initially, when there is a computerization of that common service centers, you also see that this there is a huge investment on computerization. But you see that was also a problem for the government, because cannot like at first instance cannot make such a huge investment without even that's what deliberating on the consequences. It is difficult to deliberate what will be the consequence if we make if they make such a huge investment. So various you say that private agencies and corporation came in to lease the computer. Yeah. And so government also made that leasing of computer that easier at the same time, and they also fund various projects. This private agencies have come and funding the project. So That's how we get to see different projects are there. Sampark is one project, Sari is one project. Sari project is there in Tamil Nadu, Sampark project is there in even that Haryana. So it is related to e-government, e-governance, not government, e-governance. So, okay. So, but at the same time, you see, uh, so reality of it is still green. Okay. Okay. Any question? Any question? Yeah. Efficiency. Okay, let me tell you, efficiency is all about speedier delivery of the services, first delivery of the services. That is a speedier first delivery of the services without any hassle. Huh? Participation. Participation itself, you see, making people participate into the government apparatus, also making people take decisions, some of the decisions which will affect their life, and how to make people participate in any kind of decision making. So it can be facilitated in different way, but that e component can facilitate participation even through feedback, through feedback mechanism. It will also facilitate the participation. So you can also give the feedback. There is grievance redressal mechanism is there through which you can participate. But when you say participation, it is a very use a broad term to understand. So you understand participation from that lectures. I have also discussed about participation in this because it is at the same time. I don't think that it's a reality. Participation is not a reality. Yeah, to a certain extent there is efficiency of service, first delivery of service, efficiency ensure transparency of service at the same time, very transparent. A person also at individual level, if he or she is efficient, he will be transparent at the same time, you see. So that is guaranteed. He or she will be transparent if he is efficient in any work. Okay, so it is very, very important. All these characteristics are linked together. And definitely he or she will never hesitate to participate on any occasions. Huh? So these are also very, very important. Participation, e-participation, you also know to feedback mechanism. That's how you can participate. But whether that is the actual participation, whether that has empowered you, whether that has also helped you to collaborate with other 10 and 20 expert or agencies or people or an organization is very, very important. So that participation, whether it has helped you to talk to other 10 people, talk to other 10 experts, talk to other 10 colleagues even. So that is important at the same time. Okay, it's fine.